Great. I'm really glad we can have the conversation about like what are the real pains behind using AI in the software development process. But firstly, before we start, you already know Mateusz, you already know Julivan, probably Tomasz, if you can briefly introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, Tomasz Czerwiński. I'm from Credit Agricole. You already seen several slides about organizational success of the Flutter app. I'm the manager of the several systems, client and customer, client and channels. So not only the web application is under my management, and then for the Flutter implementation, I was from the very beginning of this implementation together with the Flutter team. So thank you that you invited me on the talk. So this is my position.
Right. Tomasz was very brave enough in 2021 to make a decision to go for fully full Flutter with building the app from scratch. So paving the way for probably all of us here.
I was not the only one, but I was the one who
against
was
all odds,
pushing.
against big consultancy brands claiming otherwise, but that was Tomasz, right? And Krzysztof, if you can say a few words. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Krzysztof. I work at Pinterest as a product manager. We are experimenting and building a few new apps, and we're looking into various technologies that could be used for that. I worked for 12 years at Google, where we used many different technologies to build many of the products. And yeah, I think it would be an interesting discussion to see what we all learned together at using AI and such technologies to build cool things.
Right. Thank you. So to start with, I want to ask you, since the AI is getting better every day, if we observe social media, we can get an impression that it will take over our jobs like tomorrow, but somehow it still cannot do that, right? So somehow we still see some problems when it comes to the adoption. So from your perspective, if we were to start about your impressions from 1 year ago, what were the core hypotheses about AI and adoption that you were wrong about? What are the biggest learnings and surprises that you've learned over the course of last 12 months?
Yeah, but for me, I think I felt for the famous clickbait that AI could deliver like super fast code, and then therefore our cycle time would decrease a lot. But especially in big companies, not about that, because we can deliver like faster code, but we still need to have a lot of alignment, and that's where AI cannot help us, not yet at least, because we need to have a lot of alignments. And how can we decrease the cycle time and without building a lot of technical debts, right? Because we are delivering more code, but how do we fix the debt that we are left behind if you are automating a lot of stuff at the same time?
Okay, from the perspective of manager, one thing which was not delivered, and frankly it was promised, that I will have many of developers waiting for the job because the AI is going to hire them. So it was not the things which was not delivered. So as you know, we all have the same situation. We all need to have the developers. You said many in the loop or many around the loop. So this is something which is something different with it was promised and we discussed. And this is one element. The one element was what was surprising me, that the evolution was very, very fast, even faster than we expected. So it creates a situation that half a year ago, we had a chance just to see that the new models are just increasing the effectiveness of these tools dramatically. And then there's several of other enterprise delivery teams are just pushing its own idea. So at the end of the day, we are having it's a various concept which seems to be very similar to each one. And currently, we don't know what is the best concept. From that perspective, for us, it's just very hard just to choose what will be the best option for us. So I think that we are in the time that the models are getting better and better, more costly, But in fact, we don't know what is the best host that you put. And I have an idea that if we just choose wrongly, it will cost us much more that we expected 12 years ago, 12 months ago. And now it's very hard, especially in the very complicated environments like enterprise, just to make the appropriate decisions. So this was the other one, which were something that I did not expect. Too much space and too many concepts that we need to tackle.
I can just add from a perspective of the developer and the software agency. We try to standardize things, right? Like every dev would say, as a dev, you want to standardize. And what Tomasz said about the tempo was intimidating, I would say. I didn't expect, and nobody in our company expected the tempo of AI progress, and that we started, for example, we started standardizing for some model, because back in the days there was one model or two models, and then every month you have another model. Then you had rules, then you had skills, then you had harnesses. Now it's harness time. Everyone wants to have their own harness. Now some companies are saying, no, we just take open source models and reinforce learn it. And then we realized that the fundamentals are the most important. So you still need to just write good code. Just go back, because it's so hard. Someone told me from an AI company that do stuff that that won't be deprecated when the model is better, in the future. And that's the only law I can actually go by in this time.
I think those are great points, and I think one thing that pops into my mind, and to all the things that you already mentioned, is that it's even more important to think. You talk about hypothesis and kind of like how we're going to be measuring and what works out, what doesn't work out. I think it's important to see, think not only what is the hypothesis, but how we're going to verify the hypothesis. And if we think about this, then we're going to come back with some metric. And then the question is what this metric will be. Like, are we optimizing for speed? If we're optimizing for speed, maybe that's not the best, because if you rush, then we tend to make more errors. If we slow down, I think I recently read on Pinterest from one of our VPs that she's thinking AI kind of increase the speed of us as a society. And sometimes it's about slowing down and about just making sure that we're building the right things. So hypothesis was, I think, that AI will kind of speed up things. It will reduce costs, but I don't think it will do neither of this in a very short term. It might be an investment, multiple year investment, but you have to get the foundation right. And yes, you can build generic things very quickly, but you will then see that they're generic. So it's like buying something from a big e-commerce platform and paying for it $2, or you can buy something which is handmade, or there's some thought put into it. AI is just is a tool. So hypothesis, I think, was that it's going to be a tool that's going to resolve everything. I don't think it's going to resolve everything. It's going to resolve things that we as humans put it onto work for, right? And I think one thing that I see is I have a feeling, at least that's a feeling, that's a hypothesis from my side, is that it might create a lot of anxiety in us as society, because we think we're going to be obsolete. Like previously we had this FOMO, which is fear of missing out. Now we have the fear of being obsolete. And I see it on a daily basis, even with my kids, that they're all the time, they don't even know what they should be learning right now. But I think we're all going to figure it out together at the end.
Right. And before we jump into the future and what the fears or hopes are regarding what comes next, you've touched on the very important thing, which is the measurement. And probably, to our audience, raise the hand if you have one good way to measure the AI adoption, one good metric that you use in your company. if there's anybody brave enough to name such a metric. I think this is very tricky, so I'll let that question think for a second, but probably redirect that question to our guest. Like, how can you measure whether your team actually adopted AI? What are the metrics that you consider important?
I can start. I don't think nobody has like the ultimate solution. First of all, here, I think we all kind of like have to collectively think about it. But one framework of thinking about it is to think about kind of like the input metrics and the output metrics. So always business will be thinking about the output metrics, which will be increasing revenue, cost saving, mainly those two, or like quality or brand perception could be another output metric. But I think with AI, what you can optimize is the input metrics. So efficiency, speed of testing a new experiment, speed of doing a prototype and testing like a go-to market and trying out with new users that previously we couldn't do, or you could like go and do some mock-ups, and now you can show to, when you do like user studies, you can show to the users actually build product within a week. This is incredible. So we can think about like in a way what would be the input metrics that we could kind of like use in order to influence the output metrics, which are run typically by the business teams. And I think that's an interesting way of thinking about it. But yeah, I'll be interesting to hear what are your thoughts about this. And
Yeah, like something this I don't think anyone has this answer. I agree with you. Like this is really hard to measure because we are all learning right now, and if you know the answer, please let us know. We would love to know what the perfect metric is. But I think that we need to do some kind of experimentation, and right now we have proxy metrics for example, like what are the tools that the developers are using? Like they are using more Cloud Code, they are using Cursor, which is the favorite tool for AI for the developers to use it, and also how do we compare the ratio of shipped code against like the reviews of the PRs? Are the are the models doing these PRs correctly, or are the humans doing a lot of after these PRs are sent by the AI? So we don't have perfect metrics, but we have kind of proxy metrics right now.
What we are doing in Credit Agricole, you already seen, Piotr just presented that we're asking developers whether they like or not like the outcome of usage there. But this is not I would say, the metric that we are just expecting. This is the question to the developers. So from that perspective, we can assess whether they are just perceiving this tool and this assessment, this usage as something which is an improvement. We're also using the Blue Optima. I don't know whether someone from the audience using the Blue Optima. This is the tool for analyzing the effectiveness of the developer. So we are just at the starting position. We will probably have this kind of chance just to see whether the effectiveness measured before AI and after AI just changed in terms of the different metrics that are within the tool. And of course, the question about the effectiveness is growing, because before there was not a huge question, because we said, okay, it doesn't cost too much in order just to assess whether we need to go with a complicated process of the assessment. So let's make them the tool available. Currently, we observe that during the change of the method of the calculation of the tokens from Copilot, we observe that sometimes from 4 times more we need to pay, even to 10 times more. So the question about how you do measure the effectiveness is something which is vitally important in our organization, is growing right now. And this is one of the, I would say, situation which was not answering the first question. I know that cost will grow, but not in that perspective that it's the question how we are going to proceed with this. Next, I know that some organizations just getting back and saying, okay, maybe getting back to the idea just to having only senior developers is much more effective than relying on these very costly models. But we need to revise this approach.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with my colleagues, and especially with that we need to measure more like on the different layers, because it's not a one-dimensional thing. We tried to measure a lot of stuff, and there are some problems with those measurements. For example, we used Cursor for a long time in our company. Now we are using Cursor and Cloud Code, but the time we used Cursor a lot, we tried to measure things. You have a lot of analytics like acceptance rates, how many like lines of code are done by agents, and so on and so on. And we noticed that they can be also deceptive. For example, we had two devs, and one of them, for example, because of AI, they were doing twice as much features every day. But another person was also very efficient in AI, but they did just twice as faster the same feature to take more time for other stuff at work. So who is more efficient in AI? Like, they are both efficient in AI. Maybe even the second one is more efficient in AI. And from the statistics, it looked like the first one. So it's also very hard to take to take that numbers and actually reason from them. It's very dangerous. But I have to also confirm that right now the token efficiency is something that's crucial. We started some micro benchmark with Flutter. We did a micro benchmark with some Flutter task, UI task, to do some Flutter page in the app with different models. And for example, we observed the frontier models, like 3 frontier models. And one of the models was very expensive per token. Another one was very cheap per token. But the first one did 26 times less steps. So like it solved the task in a couple steps, and another one in almost 100 steps. And the overall cost of the task was actually higher for the cheaper model, because it had to, it couldn't make it right. It had to do a lot of things in the loop, also correct itself, couldn't make it right. And the very expensive one almost one-shotted it. So after that micro benchmark, we saw that, and it's getting even more confused, because now it's even harder to, like you mentioned, like assess which is the way on any level. So this is very hard, and I think that multi-level benchmarks, assessments, surveys, like in Crédit Agricole, and that thing.
Right, great. Probably you have any follow-up questions to our guests regarding those measurements and how it could be calculated, Edward?
Yeah, I'm Edward. I'm working for Sennheiser, and I would like to pick up on something that Julivan, I think, said in the beginning. You said something like you didn't see AI speed up the whole process as expected, because you still need someone to basically judge the quality of the changes. So the functional requirements you can test with tests, but how do you ensure that it's maintainable and scalable, whatever the AI produces? So do you have any idea how to remove this bottleneck while still keeping the quality of the generated code?
Yes, something that we are seeing is that it's really, really important for us to enhance the context all the time. Because for AI to be more predictable, we need to be very, very careful about the context, and also the environment that the developers are using. So different environments give different outputs for the same inputs, as you know. And something that we are investing is more like, do we need a harness environment to try to equalize the knowledge and the context for all the developers? So this is the kind of thing that we are exploring right now.
Right. I believe this context optimization is an important part, like Mateusz and Piotr, you've shown in the previous presentation that it can definitely help to avoid token maxing strategies and traps that are there. And it also feels like different metrics apply to different stages of AI adoption, right? Because you look at the very different things when you just start to evangelize among your team that we should start using Flutter AI in your Flutter teams. And then when you still thinking, as Tomasz, you've mentioned about actually optimization, right? So we already have this AI adoption, and then we want to make sure that we have also costs under control, so that to care about that side. But speaking about the teams and the way the teams adapt, do you also observe that there are different paces between different team members? Do you still see some reluctancy among developers, among engineers to adopt AI? And do you see any imbalances between like early adopters and leaders who'd love to vibe code their like next full app starting tomorrow, and between those who are still resilient, let's say, and still have their fair doubts about, you know, what guardrails should we use firstly in place, etc. How do you manage those different those different levels of appetite for AI among your teams, so that you still manage to keep those early adopters innovative while not pushing too hard for AI to lose those team members who are with you for longer, but probably are not super cheerful about widespread AI adoption? So from the team management perspective.
In my experience, what I'm seeing is like junior engineers tend to adopt AI more easily because it accelerates the knowledge, right? So they can learn faster, and this is good for them because they can onboard faster, like in different contexts, for example. And more senior engineers tend to be more skeptical about AI, but not. I don't think they are afraid. It's more like they know the side effects, right? They know what a bad code can cause in production. So now what I think that we need to take care is kind of how do we keep junior engineers evolving while the senior engineers is not only gatekeepers. They are actually continue to contribute with the code base, with the features and etc. So something that I believe that it's important right now is like keep whiteboard sessions led by those more senior engineers, pair programming, etc. So this is something that I think this needs to be more strong on the workflow of the teams.
I do agree with that. I would like just to add something which is very specific maybe to the big organization and like Credit Agricole. We have not only Flutter development and Flutter technology, we have the other one. Some of them are very legacy systems implementations. So we observe that there is a different adoptions in terms of the technology. Of course, the seniority is also taking the important role in terms of the adoption. But one thing which is very important, we observe that if we are talking about the front-end development, so I mean that there is a end of the architecture. I mean that this is the output of the architecture. It's much easier just to implement and adopt this solution because you're not very reliable. You don't need to rely on others, so you are not very independent. But if you're having the fully developed over 20 years software development lifecycle and product development lifecycle with the artifacts that are very important, and you just named all the roles that deliver something. At the end of the day, you just realize that you have one option. Are they just to let, like in Flutter, just to say that they are just improving their own area? Or you're just thinking about redesigning development lifecycle. What we have in terms of the challenge, we can say that keeping in mind all the artifacts that are in development lifecycle, we are just creating them with the AI adoption, with the AI agents. But at the end of the day, there is a question: who is really needing those artifacts, those documents that are just created for another human? Who's getting those documents and transforming into the human? So if you're having the agent, AI agent, there is a question whether your software development lifecycle with all the artifacts are still valid. So what we are just struggling right now is we are just thinking that our next evolution is not about the changing the tooling, but in fact the process that has been developed like 20 years ago. So this is why we are just a little bit at the level of holding the horses, just to thinking over all the process, all the steps, and then we will probably introduce our in a new feature, in a new element.
I really like that. And also on top of that, like the life cycle, but also like this is the for me this is the real revolution, not the code, but the all the other stuff beyond code. For example, people. What I observed in my team, and maybe you will agree with me that not every great programmer is a great prompter. I mean, it's kind of a reset, I would say, in that terms. I saw many, like you mentioned junior people, like that they can be awesome prompters, right? And they might be much better in prompting than someone that knows everything about the system already, knows everything about the bank, everything about the code, each line of code they already seen, yeah. And this is something that, like, from, I don't know, recruitment perspective or just managing people, that's a very important thing. And I saw that, and I think tinkerers, this is a group of people, I would say, that are doing the best, if no matter if they're junior or senior, like smart tinkering people will be like, the tinkerers will be there, like the savvies, the people that want to experiment with that. We've seen, like, even in the community, like, of the like legendary programmers, I would say, there's, for example, Steve Yegi. That was very, very popular programmer, and he's like 60 years old right now. And he said that, like, for him, vibe coding is like the best thing he discovered. And it's like, and he managed to create a lot of AI tooling, and it's still doing that. So it's just something that is just new, and someone can be just so great about it. And someone can be it can be so hard for some great developer to be great in AI. So that's also something that's gonna be important, like, to match people, and how to grow teams and their expertise and so on. And then it's gonna be a challenge as well, I think.
I think those are very interesting thoughts. I was always kind of thinking that we, at the end, need to focus on building things together and about diversity. So I don't know if much changes. The tooling changes, right? Previously we had IDEs, like we could be using some automated, like we didn't start to code everything typically in a notepad, although sometimes we did, right, where we were studying. But then there's a new tooling, and the tooling doesn't change. I think what is important is that also people evolve with the technology, and that we don't put our own biases into new tools that exist that are maybe free of those, if we try to, like, keep our mind more open and be open for diversity, because I think it's important that we need all each other to build something cool that others can use. We need, like, nobody can build things in isolation. I mean, even geniuses don't do, like, things in isolation. They typically work in a team. I think even when they were constructing during the Second World War, the atom bomb, there was not one person, there was a whole team that was doing this. And I think this is important when it comes to people management, is just to see the potential and the talent in each of us individuals, and let this talent shine on its own. Yeah, I think that, I don't know if AI changes anything in that, but I might be wrong.
Right. I'm really glad to see that, that currently, despite early predictions, like there's still room for junior people, right, who can enter the companies with the open minds, and probably that's what has surfaced here, and I really like that opinion. And I also really like the opinion that, Tomasz, as you've shared, that probably this could be for all of us, that the Flutter should be as a front-end technology somehow in the front run of the AI adoption, right? So because we are on the rightmost side, and nothing else depends on the front end here. So that gives us a lot of freedom to experiment, and that gives us a lot of freedom to innovate with the new tools, new approaches towards AI adoption. So I hope you will also share your thoughts on that with us. We probably have the room for one last question, if there is any from the audience. Yes, please, in the end. Mari, if you could.
My name is Alex. I'm a staff engineer in Pashapay, Azerbaijan. So many companies now are cutting jobs and investing heavily in AI to improve efficiency. And there is an opinion that this trend is a strategic mistake, and some companies are sacrificing long-term growth, innovation, and expertise for short-term gains. What do you think of this?
I know, you have something urgent to say. That is why I know I can. I thought you have something urgent to say. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question, right? I think there's a lot of this kind of anxiety that exists. That's true, but the question is, I mean, the generations of our parents, haven't they thought exactly the same? I don't know, but maybe they did. And yes, there might be waves that are coming through the industries, right? Like there's a wave where maybe some of the big tech companies hired too much people during the COVID times because we didn't know what's going to be happening. Everybody thought we're going to be closed in our house for the next 10 years or 20 years. So maybe they did hire too many people. Maybe, I don't know. That's a hypothesis. And maybe there needs to be sometimes like a market correction in order to solve for that. But I don't think there is like any existential threat. I think like if you hire good people with various backgrounds and various skills, I think this is something that you will always need as a company. Yeah, the tooling will change, technology will change. There will be a new framework, there will be a new version of Flutter. We all have to learn every day, and maybe it makes us a little bit more to think that, yes, we were talking previously about metrics. I don't think it's about like a metric now of like measuring an individual like with a KPI on one day. We start to go sometimes from like more time management to energy management. So maybe there is a bright future where we have more time for ourselves. We can read more, we can maybe relax more, do some other things that we don't have typically time to do because we've been running and chasing for something and like always on a project. So I'm personally not scared that it's going into some like doomy, gloomy like direction, but obviously like nobody knows where it's going to be. We're all in this adventure together, and we all like are here to shape the future of how it's going to look like, and it all depends on us. But it's a great question. So I don't know if I'd answer it, and sorry, I didn't want to like go.
To slightly rephrase it to make it short, a little bit shorter, do you expect to hire or fire due to AI?
Neither hire nor fire. I just want to add one element. I believe that I do agree with you and what you said. I do believe that we are just in the area that maybe AI will force us also just to be much more not only concentrated on very specific task. We will come back to the situation that you are just managing from the analysis to the testing, because you are just managing the agents. So you understand the full, and you are just having the power and then you feel that this is your product from end to end. So I think that it will create the situation that will have, I would say, the wider capabilities than we have. So less specialty. So it will support also this idea of the agile teams with working together with the mixture of the. So this is, I would say, if you are just possessing some talents from the market, you're believing that if there is a new chance, the adoption is together with those people, so they will adopt. So we are not thinking about firing it, hiring it. We are just thinking about being much more effective, because the backlog of the things that are going to be done is very long. So.
All right, thank you very much. I hope that you got inspired thanks to the lessons learned from our guests, and I strongly encourage you to challenge all our speakers and panelists here in the networking sessions during the breaks, and by asking them, what's how the future is going to look like, because we all can speculate about that, and we will see where the AI will take us. Right now, that'll be it. Thank you very much, Delmas, for taking part here in our discussion. Thank you.